My phone buzzed softly on the nightstand, cutting through the silence like a whisper in my ear. I wasn't even supposed to be awake. But some nights, you wake up with a weight in your chest, like something is watching, something is waiting. I grabbed my phone, eyes squinting against the screen's glare. There it was. New upload. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 1. I frowned. The channel name didn't ring a bell. No subscriptions, no history. Just a thumbnail, grainy, static choked, showing a narrow hallway flickering under a dying light. At the far end stood a woman, her face twisted into a blur, her mouth hanging wide open like she was screaming without sound. Do not watch alone. It was the kind of title you see in clickbait horror videos, the ones kids dare each other to watch in the dark. But this felt off. There was no view count, no likes, no comments. Just uploaded 6 minutes ago. I should have locked my phone, turned it off. But you know how this goes, curiosity is its own curse. I tapped play. The video began with static, loud and violent like nails dragging down a chalkboard. I scrambled to lower the volume, heart pounding. Behind the static came a whisper, soft, female, too close. Can you hear me? I ripped out my headphones. The whisper didn't stop. It was in the room with me. My skin crawled cold as my breath caught in my throat. I turned, expecting the dark corner of my bedroom to be empty. It wasn't. My mirror, half covered by an old hoodie, was fogging up from the inside. Words slowly formed on the glass, traced by an invisible hand. Press play. I obeyed. The video cut to a bedroom almost identical to mine. Same cheap wooden bed frame, same uneven paint on the walls. But this room had a mirror directly facing the bed. In the reflection stood a figure. Not the person filming, just a figure. Back turned, shoulders slumped. Its hands hung limp at its sides, fingers curled inward like they'd been broken and reset wrong. The whisper returned. He's watching you. I stared at my own reflection, expecting to see the same empty posture. But no, just me. Pale, trembling, too scared to blink. I should have stopped watching. I didn't. The next cut showed a girl sitting cross-legged on her bed, whispering into her own cupped hands. Her eyes were wide, darting left and right like she could see something off-screen. Her lips moved too fast to follow, but the captions beneath read, "If you hear the whisper, it already knows your name." The camera shook violently as if someone grabbed it. For a split second, the lens caught a reflection in the window. The girl's face stretched unnaturally wide, her mouth open just like the thumbnail. The whisper came again. 7 days. I slammed the laptop shut. My pulse hammered in my throat. It was just a stupid video. Prank channel, right? My phone vibrated. New upload, The Whispering Tapes, Episode 2. I didn't click it. Not at first. Morning came and logic felt braver in daylight. I Googled the channel. Nothing. No results, no archives. But on Reddit, buried deep in a forgotten horror thread, I found a name. The Whispering Tapes, deleted by YouTube March 4th, 2008. 17 years ago. Same upload dates. Same titles. Every comment said the same thing. Once you watch the first tape, you can't stop. It finds you. That night, my bathroom mirror fogged up again. No steam, just cold breath on glass. Play the next tape. I gave in. Episode 2 opened inside a motel room numbered 206. The camera swept across a filthy bed, a cracked lamp, and a mirror covered in fingerprints. In the reflection stood a woman, back turned, hair wet and dripping down her spine. But when the camera turned toward her, the shower was dry. The whisper came from her mouth this time. "Come closer." The cameraman obeyed. His breath fogged the glass, but hers didn't. As her head twisted, her neck bending past human limits, I saw her face. It was me. Pale, shaking, eyes wide, mouth black with something thick and wet. My own voice whispered back, "Now it's your turn." The next morning, a package waited at my door. No return address. Inside, a cassette tape, cracked and old, labeled in smeared ink. The first whisper. I found a dusty player in the attic, fingers trembling as I pressed play. That whisper, it was my voice this time, whispering into my own ear. I shouldn't have watched. I shouldn't have listened. 7 days. In my TV's reflection, she stood behind me, smiling. Day 3. My reflection no longer follows me perfectly. It moves ahead, turns before I do, blinks when my eyes are open. Day 4. My phone vibrates every night at 3:13 a.m. New upload, The Whispering Tapes, Episode 3. I stopped sleeping. Every screen shows her face now, the black-mouthed reflection. Day 5. I smashed every mirror in the house. It didn't matter. Now I see her in windows, spoons, puddles, anything that reflects. Day 6. The whispers started in my own voice. They crawl into my ears, begging me to finish the playlist. Only one left. Day 7. Tonight, 3:13 a.m. The final tape will play itself. If you found this story, if you're reading these words, you're already in the tapes now. Listen closely. Do you hear it? The whisper right behind you. Don't turn around. Don't look into any reflection. And whatever you do, don't press play. Day 7 to 11:58 p.m. I locked every door, drew every curtain, covered every reflective surface with towels, blankets, clothes, anything I could find. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. The whisper isn't in the mirrors anymore. It's inside me. My ears ring with it. A never-ending loop of my own voice layered beneath hers. Sometimes I can tell which words are mine, which are hers. Sometimes I can't. You are the next tape. The history of the whispering tapes somewhere between panic and obsession. I went digging. There had to be an origin, some sick game, a forgotten internet myth someone revived. But what I found was worse. The first record of the whispering tapes wasn't online. It was in an evidence box belonging to a man named Father Elias Morano, a priest who disappeared in 2008 after warning his congregation about a cursed recording. His final sermon was transcribed, a rambling, broken speech about a voice trapped inside magnetic tape, a voice that could crawl out of any reflective surface and wear your face like a mask. He claimed the tape was discovered in 1973, hidden inside the confession booth of St. Dimphna's Chapel, a church notorious for its mass suicide decades earlier. Every priest who tried to destroy the tape died within 7 days. Every attempt to bury it failed. The tape always returned itself to the chapel until one priest, desperate, uploaded its audio to YouTube in 2008, hoping the digital world would dilute its power. It didn't. It multiplied it. That video was taken down after 24 hours. But the curse doesn't need a platform. It needs eyes. It needs ears. It needs you. Day 7 to 3:09 a.m. The house is too quiet. Every sound feels amplified, the tick of the clock, the hum of the fridge, my own breath catching in my throat. My phone screen lights up before the buzz even starts. New upload, The Whispering Tapes, final episode. The thumbnail shows me sitting right here in my bed, phone in hand, blanket over my lap. But the version of me in the thumbnail is smiling. Too wide, teeth blackened, lips stretched until they tear at the corners. I close my eyes, count backwards from 10. When I open them, the video has already started playing. The final tape, it's not found footage this time. It's a live stream. I'm watching myself from behind. The camera angle hovers over my shoulder, capturing the curve of my neck, the sweat glistening on my skin. I turn off the phone. The stream keeps playing directly on my bedroom wall. Come closer. The whisper is no longer distant. It's in my mouth, vibrating against my teeth. My jaw moves without my permission, lips forming words I don't want to say. The first to listen was not me. It was her. The first victim, her name was Clara Velasquez, a 17-year-old girl who disappeared from St. Dimphna's orphanage in 1973. Her diary, later found stuffed inside the mouth of a broken confessional statue, told the whole story. She had been dared by the other girls to sneak into the chapel at midnight, alone, to press her ear against the confessional wall and listen for God's voice. What she heard wasn't God. It was herself, whispering secrets she hadn't told anyone. Things she had only thought, but never spoken aloud. Clara, I know what you did. The voice spoke with her own mouth, revealing every stolen object, every lie, every secret sin. By the time the priest found her the next morning, Clara was staring into the chapel's mirror, talking to her own reflection, her lips moving in perfect sync with the glass. She slit her throat that afternoon, but her reflection kept whispering for 7 days after her death. The tape itself, they recorded her whispers, hoping to understand, to exorcise the voice trapped in her reflection. But the tape was cursed. Anyone who played it heard their own secrets whispered back to them. The whisper learned new names, new sins, and it wanted more ears. The first upload was pixelated, corrupted beyond repair. But the whisper doesn't need perfect quality. It needs attention. It needs fear. Every person who watches, who listens, becomes the next tape. Day 7 to 3:12 a.m., the phone screen flickers. My reflection stares back, but it's not me anymore. She moves first, head tilting, smile widening. Her hands lift, but mine stay still. The whisper is outside my head now. It fills the room, the walls, the floorboards. It speaks from every screen, every glass surface. Even the black pupils in my eyes reflect her smile. Welcome to the whisper. The screen turns black. In the dark glass, I see dozens of faces, all whispering in unison. All past watchers who didn't escape. And in the center stands Clara, her throat still slit, her mouth still moving. Pass it on. The screen displays a final message. Share this video to save yourself. 7 a.m., final log. I uploaded this story. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. The whisper has rules. It needs new listeners every week, fresh fear to feed on. If I don't pass it on, my reflection will crawl out of the screen and replace me forever. So now you know. Now you're part of the whisper too. Listen closely. Do you hear it now? The whisper behind you, the glass breathing, the reflection smiling before you do. Don't turn around. Don't press play. But you will. You always do. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 2. Room 206. I never believed in haunted places. Not until room 206. When I checked into the Crescent Motel, I was looking for nothing more than a cheap bed and silence. I had driven 12 hours straight, running from a life I didn't want to live anymore. A failed engagement, a job I hated, and the suffocating weight of being invisible. The man at the front desk didn't even look up when he handed me the key. Just muttered 2 words under his breath. Room 206. The way he said it, flat, like someone reciting a phone number they've said too many times, made my skin crawl. I told myself I was imagining things. That was my first mistake. The hallway leading to 206 felt wrong. Not dirty or rundown, wrong in the way abandoned hospitals feel wrong. Like the air remembers something terrible. Every step I took, the floorboards creaked in a rhythm too perfect, like someone was following exactly half a second behind me. When I unlocked the door, it swung open on its own. Inside, the room was ordinary. Peeling wallpaper, a bedspread with cigarette burns, a cracked mirror facing the bed. Nothing unusual except for the VHS tape sitting neatly on the pillow. It had no label, just a faint handprint smudged into the plastic. I should have left right then. But you already know, curiosity is its own kind of curse. I found an old TV in the corner, the kind with a built-in VCR. The tape slid in smoothly, like it had been waiting. The screen flickered to life with static, but beneath the hiss came something else. A whisper so soft I had to lean closer. Closer! My stomach dropped. It was my own voice. The video showed room 206, but not as I saw it. The walls were wet, dripping black, and the bed was empty except for a shape beneath the covers. Too still to be sleeping, too crooked to be human. The whisper returned. Come closer. The camera obeyed, moving toward the bed like it was pulled forward. When the covers were peeled back, there was nothing underneath. Just a mirror, face up, reflecting someone standing directly behind the camera. Someone that looked exactly like me. I slammed the TV off. My reflection in the dark screen stared back. But my reflection wasn't trembling. It was smiling. Midnight, I woke to the sound of water dripping. Not from the sink, from the mirror. Black droplets leaked from the cracked edges, trickling down like ink bleeding from glass. I stepped closer, breath fogging the surface. My reflection copied me at first. Then it blinked twice as fast. It whispered, "Come closer." I stumbled back, slamming into the dresser. The TV turned on by itself, the screen showing live footage of my bed. But someone was lying in it now. Someone with my face. I grabbed my bag and bolted for the door. It didn't open. The knob burned my palm like it was fresh off a stove. Behind me, the reflection in the mirror sat up, grinning wide enough to split skin. It raised a hand, and my body mimicked it against my will. "Stay. Just for tonight." The girl before me, I wasn't the first to stay in 206. I found her diary beneath the bed, pages sticking together with something dark and dry. Her name was Leanne Mitchell, and her first entry was dated exactly 7 days before she disappeared. The mirror whispers at night. It knows my thoughts before I do. When I smile, my reflection smiles wider. When I cry, she laughs. The last page was written in someone else's handwriting, jagged, desperate. Leanne is gone. The girl in the mirror took her place. The second night, I covered the mirror with a blanket, but the whisper came anyway, through the TV, through the water pipes, through the reflection in my phone screen. "Closer." I smashed the TV. The whisper left. Too late. The third night, the air smelled like wet earth, like something had been dug up and dragged inside. My sheets were damp. My reflection moved even when I lay still, tracing invisible words onto the inside of the glass. I knew what it was writing. "Closer." When I blinked, my reflection didn't. The fourth night, I didn't sleep. Every screen, every surface reflected her, moving through room 206 like she belonged there. Because she does. Because I don't. The fifth night, the whisper changed. "Pass it on." The mirror cracked down the center, exposing a hollow space inside the wall. I reached in. My fingers found a cassette tape, covered in blood. My own blood. The sixth night, I played the tape. It was my voice, my confession. Every secret, every sin, every ugly thought I'd ever swallowed down. Playing out loud in room 206. "You deserve this." The whisper was me. The seventh night, the girl in the mirror stepped out. She left the reflection empty. She crawled into my skin, smiling too wide. Now I live inside the glass, whispering for the next guest. Room 206 is always waiting. To whoever watches this tape, you won't believe me. You'll watch anyway. Curiosity is a curse that feeds us all. When you see your reflection tonight, look closely. If it smiles before you do, it's already too late. Present-day room 206 is boarded up now. The Crescent Motel pretends it doesn't exist. But the whisper doesn't need a room anymore. It needs you. That's why you found this story. That's why you're reading these words. You've already seen your reflection today, haven't you? And when you look again, you'll see her. She's closer than you think. Before room 206 became a room, the Crescent Motel wasn't always a motel. Before the neon sign, before the rotting carpets and cigarette burns, it was something far worse. In 1965, this building was a private asylum, known only to those who could afford its silence. The wealthy sent their unwanted here. Wives who knew too much, daughters who spoke too loud, sons who dreamed the wrong way. The asylum had a single rule for treatment: confess to the mirror. Patients were locked into room 206, left alone with nothing but a mirror bolted to the wall. No food, no water, just the reflection. The doctor in charge believed that if you spoke your sins directly to your own reflection, if you said them out loud enough times, your guilt would manifest physically. It would crawl out of the mirror, take shape, and walk away, leaving you clean. They called it the whisper cure. Most patients lasted less than 24 hours. Their reflections turned cruel first, mimicking movements just slightly out of sync, whispering back confessions they never spoke aloud. By the third day, patients would tear out their own eyes, convinced something was watching from inside the glass. By the seventh day, they were gone, vanished. Only the reflection remained, smiling. The asylum shut down after 13 patients disappeared without a trace. No bodies. Just mirrors. The building was sold, turned into a motel. The mirrors stayed. Leanne was not the first. The diary under the bed wasn't alone. There were 9 others, each belonging to someone who had stayed in 206. Each lasted exactly 7 days. Each one ended with the same final entry. The whisper knows my name now. It knows all my secrets. It's wearing my face. The last diary belonged to a man named Elliot Carr, a private investigator hired in 2008 to look into a string of missing persons cases linked to the motel. His notes were taped to the bathroom mirror, written backwards so they could only be read in the reflection. It doesn't haunt the room. It haunts the mirror. The mirror is the door. The whisper is the key. Elliot disappeared on his 7th night. His reflection never did. The 3rd tape discovered I found another VHS tucked inside the air vent. This one had a label, handwritten in shaking script. The 3rd tape, Elliot's Night, I knew better. I watched anyway. The footage was taken from inside the mirror, as if the camera itself had crossed over to the other side. Elliot stood in the room, staring directly at his reflection. But the reflection wasn't him anymore. It was thinner, paler, eyes too wide, smile stretched too far. The reflection whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Elliot didn't respond. He couldn't. His mouth moved, but the reflection spoke first every time, like it was predicting his words a second before he said them. The whisper got louder, closer. Elliot's hand raised, not by choice. The reflection guided it, pressing his palm against the glass until his skin sank through like water. When he tried to pull away, the reflection held on, dragging him halfway into the mirror. His scream sounded distorted, like playing a cassette too slow. Then silence. Elliot's body slumped back into the room, but his reflection stayed behind, watching. Why the whisper needs you. The whispering tapes aren't a curse you catch. They're a contract you sign the second you choose to watch. Every tape is a confession, not from the victim, but from their reflection. The reflection remembers everything you've ever hidden, everything you've swallowed, every dark thought you only dared whisper to yourself. And it wants to be free, but freedom has rules. For a reflection to walk out, a new viewer must look in. That's why the tapes exist. They aren't just haunting stories, they're bait. Day 7 to 11:59 p.m., I'm writing this from inside the mirror. My body is still sitting on the bed, blank eyes, smile stretched too wide. My reflection is out there now, wearing my skin. I can't feel the air anymore, only glass. I can't speak out loud anymore, only whisper. And the only way out, someone has to watch this tape. That's you. If you're reading this, it's too late. You've already seen your reflection today, haven't you? Check again. If your reflection smiles before you do, if it moves first, run. But not away from the mirror. Away from every screen, every puddle, every window at night. Because once the whisper knows your name, it knows how to find you, even in the dark. The real purpose of Room 206 was never cursed by accident. It was designed to be a trap. The first priest of St. Dymphna built it not to cure guilt, but to collect it. Every confession left inside the mirror became part of the whisper. Every whisper fed the entity growing inside the glass. Every reflection added a new face to its collection. Room 206 is a feeder room. And the whispering tapes? They're its menu. What happens after you watch on your first night? You'll hear your own voice whisper secrets you forgot you knew. On your second night, your reflection will smile on its own. On your third night, you'll dream of Room 206, whether you've been there or not. On your fourth night, your reflection will move first. On your fifth night, your secrets will appear written backwards on every mirror in your home. On your sixth night, your reflection will leave the glass. On your seventh night, you'll take its place, unless you show the tapes to someone else. The final warning: I didn't survive Room 206, but maybe you can. Close this story now. Turn off your screen. Don't look at yourself tonight. And whatever you do, don't press play. But you will. You always do. I used to believe confession was sacred. That if you knelt in the dark, whispered your sins through a screen, and bared your soul to God, you would walk out clean. I don't believe that anymore. Because I found the third tape, and it started with a confession. St. Dymphna's Chapel, 1973. The chapel stood at the edge of town, a place nobody mentioned unless they had no other choice. Parents used it to scare their children. If you lie, you'll have to confess there. St. Dymphna's wasn't like other churches. Its confession booth was built from blackened, salvaged from a house fire in 1893. People said the wood still smelled like smoke and burnt flesh. The first priest to sit in that booth, Father Marcus, disappeared after hearing his very first confession. All they found was a cassette recorder, still running, left on the seat where he had been. The tape inside was labeled, "The First Whisper." The girl who confessed her name was Clara Velasquez, 17 years old, alone. She came to confess sins whispered only behind locked doors, the kind that made girls vanish in towns like this. But when Clara knelt inside the booth, there was no priest behind the screen, only the recorder waiting, clicked on by itself. Confess. She obeyed. She confessed to stealing bread from the kitchen, to cursing Sister Margaret under her breath, to dreaming of running away. The recorder captured every word. So did the mirror inside the booth. Each time Clara spoke, her reflection whispered the words a second later, her own voice, but warped, like someone else wearing her throat like a mask. When she finished, the recorder clicked off, but her reflection kept whispering. That was the first whisper, and it never stopped. The tape moves on the recorder was found months later, stuffed into the mouth of a crucifix statue in the chapel's basement. Clara's body was never found, but her reflection still appeared in every mirror in the chapel, mouth moving silently, even when no one stood before the glass. They tried burning the tape, survived. They buried it, came back. Finally, they hid it inside the walls of room 206, hoping the curse would stay sealed. Didn't. The investigator who found it, Elliot Carr, the man who vanished from room 206, wasn't just a guest. He was hired to investigate a pattern. Every person who confessed inside St. Dymphna's booth disappeared after staying in room 206 within 7 days. The booth and room 206 were mirrors of each other, not by design but by connection. Every mirror in both places belonged to the same web, a web the whisper could crawl through. Elliot's tape, the third tape, found inside room 206's bathroom mirror, was Elliot's final confession. In it, his voice shook as he spoke to his own reflection. I broke into the chapel. I sat inside the booth. The recorder was still running. The whisper overlapped his voice, his reflection speaking half a second faster than him. I saw her reflection. She smiled. She knew my name. The footage flickered to Elliot sitting inside the booth. His reflection grinned before he did. It raised a hand and Elliot's real hand followed. The whisper pulled first. Elliot was dragged halfway into the mirror before the screen cut to black. What happens when you confess to the wrong mirror? Confession cleanses when God listens. But when something else listens, something that feeds on secrets instead of forgiving them, every confession becomes a contract. The whisper doesn't forgive. It feeds. Every whispered sin becomes part of its voice. Every secret you hide, it knows. And once you confess to it, the only way out is to replace yourself. The true purpose of the tapes, the whispering tapes, aren't warnings. They're bait. Each tape records a confession whispered into a cursed mirror. Each tape needs someone to watch, to make them the next confessor. That's why the tapes always find you. What I saw inside the booth, I had to know. After finding Elliot's tape, I went to St. Dymphna's myself. The chapel was condemned, chained shut, but the cracked back window opened easily. The confession booth was still there, wrapped in plastic like a corpse. I stepped inside. The mirror was scratched from the inside, as if fingernails had tried to claw out. The recorder waited. I pressed play. The whisper started immediately. My own voice confessing secrets I had never said aloud. I'm afraid of dying alone. I hurt someone once. I pretend I'm fine, but I'm not. The mirror fogged. Words appeared. Closer. My reflection wasn't mine anymore. The whisper's true desire, it doesn't want forgiveness. It wants to be heard. It wants ears, eyes, mirrors, screens. That's why you're reading this. You are the next confession. After you watch the third tape, you will hear your own secrets whispered back. You will see your reflection smile before you do. And on the seventh night, your reflection will walk out. And you will take its place inside the glass. Final warning, close this page. Turn off your screen. Do not look into any reflection tonight. Not your phone, not your window, not the dark TV. Because if your reflection whispers before you speak, it already knows your name. The confession has already begun. What happens next now that you've read this far, you've already confessed. Even if you don't remember, somewhere inside you, you've whispered something. A fear, a regret, a sin. And the whisper heard it. The ritual begins now. You read the story. You will look into a mirror within 24 hours. You will think about something you've never told anyone. The reflection will smile before you do. When that happens, you'll know the whisper is inside the glass, and you are outside yourself. Pass it on. There's only one way to break the chain. Show this to someone else. Make them read it. Make them look into the mirror, or you'll become part of the whisper forever. Your voice trapped inside glass. Your face smiling behind someone else's reflection. Choose quickly. The mirror is waiting. Tapes, Episode 4, The Mirror That Followed Me Home. I never took the mirror. I swear to God I didn't. But when I came home that night, exhausted, shaking, trying to forget everything I'd seen inside St. Dymphna's Chapel, it was already there. Leaning against my bedroom wall, perfectly clean, reflecting nothing at all. Just waiting. Day 1, the arrival. It wasn't my mirror. Mine was old, cracked in the corner from when I dropped it years ago. This one was pristine, with a frame that looked too ancient for something so flawless. Dark wood, carved with symbols I couldn't quite understand, but they felt familiar, like I'd seen them in dreams I didn't remember having. I covered it with a sheet. That night, the sheet slid off by itself. Day 2, the first movement, I woke up to find the mirror had moved. It now faced my bed directly, positioned so I would have no choice but to see myself the moment I opened my eyes. Except the reflection wasn't me. It was me from the night before, still wearing my jacket, still holding my phone, frozen in the exact posture I had when I first saw the mirror. My reflection hadn't updated. It was lagging behind reality. Day 3, the whispers return. I buried the mirror in my closet. Shut the door. Taped it closed. But that night, when I walked past, I heard my own voice inside the closet, whispering through the wood like the door was no thicker than air. Why did you leave me there? The voice wasn't pleading. It was amused. Day 4, reflections in everything. It didn't matter that the mirror was hidden. Every reflective surface in my house, my phone screen, my window at night, the stainless steel sink, they all showed the mirror anyway. No matter where I looked, I saw my reflection inside that frame. And every time I blinked, my reflection moved closer. Day 5, the first confession. The whisper doesn't beg for attention. It waits until you can't resist. At 3:13 a.m., I stood in front of the mirror again. This time, my reflection was waiting with its mouth open. It didn't move with me. It just stared. So I spoke. I confessed to things I didn't even mean to say, thoughts I hadn't fully formed, memories I thought I'd buried. I cheated. I lied. I thought about hurting myself once. Sometimes I want to disappear. The mirror fogged up from the inside. My reflection smiled before I did. Day 6. The exchange begins. When I woke up, the mirror was empty. No reflection at all. I checked my phone camera, same thing. I could see the room behind me, but not myself, because I wasn't in my body anymore. I was inside the glass. What it feels like inside being inside a mirror isn't like being dead. It's worse. You're still conscious, still aware, but your body doesn't belong to you anymore. You move only when they want you to move. You smile only when they want you to smile. And every time someone looks into your mirror, you feel their eyes scrape across your skin like knives. Who they are, there's more than one. Every person who's ever confessed to the wrong mirror, they're all still inside, layered on top of each other. A chorus of trapped voices, each one whispering their own sins into the dark. Some of them have been inside so long, they've forgotten who they were. Now they just repeat what they hear, waiting for someone new to trade places. Day 7. The final trade at 3:13 a.m. The reflection returned. It wore my face, but it wasn't me anymore. The smile stretched wider, the teeth darker, the eyes too still. It reached toward the glass, and I reached back. The reflection stepped out into my room, and I stepped in to take its place. Now it's your turn because now you're reading this. And my mirror, the one that followed me home, it's waiting for you now. Maybe it's already there. Maybe it's the screen you're looking into right now, or the dark window beside you, or the black reflection in your phone when it's off. What happens next within 24 hours, you'll notice your reflection smiles before you do. You hear whispers in your house when no one's home. Every reflective surface faces your bed, no matter where you move them. And on the 7th night, you'll stand in front of the mirror. Your reflection will open its mouth, and you will confess, even if you don't want to. The cycle continues. The whispering tapes aren't just videos. They're seeds, planted in the minds of anyone who watches, listens, or reads. Each story you consume makes your reflection hungrier. Each confession you hide makes the whisper louder. And the only way out is to pass the mirror to someone else. I did my part. One gave you this story. I let you look into my mirror through these words. Now it's your choice. Either you share this or you wait for your reflection to smile first. Because once the mirror follows you home, it never leaves. Final warning, turn off your screen. Cover every mirror in your house. And whatever you do, don't look into any reflection tonight. Because if you do, you'll see me standing behind you, smiling, waiting to come home again. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 5, The Face in the Static. I was never afraid of static, until it looked back at me. The tape that wasn't supposed to exist, it started with a package on my doorstep. No return address. Just a battered VHS tape inside a yellowed envelope, sticky with something dark around the edges. The label was handwritten in shaking script, The Whispering Tapes, Episode 5, Do Not Adjust Your Screen. I hadn't ordered it, but it knew my name. The first viewing, I dug out my old VCR, the one I hadn't touched in over a decade, and slid the tape inside. The screen flickered, colors bleeding, until the picture settled on a bedroom identical to mine. Same furniture, same creaky fan, same mirror facing the bed, the one I'd covered 2 weeks ago. The only difference was the TV. In the video, the TV sat at the foot of the bed, its screen locked on pure static, that blizzard of white noise we forgot existed after streaming took over. And in the static, a face began to form. Not all at once. First, just an eye blinking too slow. Then a mouth stretched too wide, whispering something lost beneath the hiss. Then the whole face appeared. Mine. Static can't reflect, right? I hit stop. The screen went dark. But my TV, the real one, across the room, was still on, though I hadn't touched the remote. It showed the same static, the same face, the same smile. Night 1, the lag returns. That night, I noticed the lag again. My reflection in every screen, every window, every turned-off device moved just a little too fast, predicting my movements instead of following them. When I raised my hand, my reflection had already waved. When I looked away, my reflection kept watching. And through the crackling static, my own voice whispered, "You brought me home." Night 2, every screen a door. I taped a blanket over the TV, but it didn't matter. My phone, locked and face down, lit up by itself, showing the same static. My laptop screen flickered to life. My microwave clock reset itself, digits flickering until they formed my birth date. Every screen had become a doorway, and my face stared out from all of them. I wasn't in control anymore. The reflection was. The first confession at exactly 3:13 a.m., the static spoke. "Tell me something you've never told anyone." I laughed it off at first, nervous, shaking, pretending it was some glitch, but the static didn't wait. It whispered back my own secrets, one after another, each word dragged out in my own voice. I lied to her. I stole and never got caught. I think about disappearing sometimes. With every confession, the static got clearer. My face sharpened, the smile stretched wider, the eyes lost their reflection. I was confessing to myself, but not myself anymore. Night 3, the static followed me at work. My phone screen flickered during calls. The office TV glitched every time I walked past. Even my smartwatch showed static instead of the time. I covered every screen I could, taped cardboard over my laptop, flipped every monitor, unplugged every device. But my bathroom mirror turned to static anyway, because now reflections were screens too. Night 4, my own voice betrays me. I started talking to myself just to prove I still controlled my voice. But the static voice always answered first. I said, "I'm fine." It said, "You're lying." I said, "This isn't real." It said, "You already know it is." I said nothing. It whispered closer. The static knows everything. The whisper doesn't just collect secrets. It remembers every version of you that's ever appeared on any screen, any reflection, any surveillance feed. Every awkward webcam call, every accidental front camera moment, every late-night glance into your phone screen. It remembers you better than you remember yourself. Night 5, the reflection walks out. I woke to my TV screen facing the bed, even though I'd left it unplugged. The static flickered. The face stepped out. It wasn't crawling through the screen. It was climbing out of me, the version of me that had been reflected so many times it no longer needed glass to exist. It stood beside the bed, head tilting too far, mouth whispering words I couldn't hear. Then it climbed back into the mirror, leaving me outside. Inside the static. Being inside the static is like drowning in light. You see everything, but nothing sees you. You speak, but only your reflection can hear. You exist in a loop, replaying every confession you ever made, every lie you told yourself over and over until they become the only version of you that's real. Night 6, the final choice. At 3:13 a.m., the static offered me a deal. Pass me on or take my place. All I had to do was record this story, upload it somewhere, and make sure someone watched it. Someone like you. Night 7, you are the screen. Now you're reading this on a screen, which means you're already inside. The static knows your face now. It knows the shape of your reflection. It knows what you look like when you think no one's watching. And tonight, at 3:13 a.m., every screen in your house might flicker. Just for a second. Just long enough to show you your own face smiling back. The 7-day rule. Day 1, your reflection moves too fast. Day 2, every screen glitches when you pass. Day 3, static whispers secrets only you know. Day 4, your voice and your reflections start answering for you. Day 5, you see yourself standing somewhere you're not. Day 6, your reflection offers a deal. Day 7, you either pass it on or become part of the static forever. This story is the next tape. I didn't write this to warn you. I wrote it to free myself. Because now that you've read it, the static knows your name too. And if you don't pass it on, you'll see me tonight inside your screen, smiling. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 6. The camera that never turned off. The first video appeared at 3:13 a.m. It wasn't sent to me. It was already saved in my phone. A file I never recorded, never downloaded, never touched. A 7-minute clip labeled The Whispering Tapes, Episode 6, and the thumbnail was my face. Footage from nowhere. I pressed play with shaking hands. The screen flickered to life, showing me asleep in my bed, the camera angle too high, like it was mounted in the ceiling. I don't have a ceiling camera. I live alone. The footage zoomed slowly, like whoever was holding the camera knew exactly where to look. My hands clutching the blanket, my breath shallow, my face tense even in sleep. At the 4-minute mark, my eyes opened. Not the way you wake up naturally. They snapped open, perfectly wide, pupils too large. And my mouth started moving, not talking, whispering. The whisper speaks through me. I couldn't hear the words. The audio was muffled, like the whisper wasn't meant for the camera. It was meant for something closer, something inside the room with me. At 5 minutes 12 seconds, my head turned toward the camera. Direct eye contact, wide smile, mouth still moving. But the voice came from behind the camera. My voice, whispering, "Are you watching?" The video ended. Day 1. The camera I never owned. I tore my apartment apart looking for a hidden camera. Checked every corner, every vent, every crack in the ceiling. Nothing. But when I opened my phone again, the camera app was already running, recording. The lens faced me directly, but the screen showed my back, as if the camera was filming me from behind. That's when the whisper spoke. Don't turn around. Day 2, reflections in the lens. The next morning, I covered my phone camera with tape. I covered my laptop camera too. It didn't matter. Every reflective surface now showed a camera lens, right in the center, as if the glass itself had become a camera. my bathroom mirror, my window at night, even my own pupils in the mirror, tiny, swirling lenses where light should be. And every time I blinked, the whisper clicked like a shutter. Day 3, who's filming who? At 3:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. New file. Another video, this time from the point of view of something standing in the corner of my bedroom, filming me from the ceiling. But halfway through, the angle flipped. Now I was the one holding the camera, and the thing in the corner was me, wide-eyed, whispering directly into the lens, "Confess." Day 4, the camera watches when I sleep. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, my phone lit up by itself, the front camera activating, even with the tape still covering the lens. And the screen didn't show the room. It showed the whispering tapes, still recording, still saving new footage of me that I never saw until morning. Day 5, the first live stream. The whisper isn't satisfied with hiding anymore. At exactly 3:13 a.m., my phone went live on a YouTube channel I didn't create. The title? Live. The next confession. Hundreds of people joined. Comments poured in. Who is this? Why is he just standing there? Why does his mouth keep moving but no sound? Wait, is he looking at us? Because I was. The camera knows your secrets. Every camera you've ever looked into remembers you. Not just your face. Your fear, your lies, your moments of shame when you thought no one could see. Every time you opened your front camera accidentally. Every time you stared into your own reflection during a late-night call. Every time you checked your appearance when no one was around. The whisper saw all of it. And now it plays it back, not for you but for itself. Day 6, what it wants. The whispering tapes aren't videos. They're confessions, filmed not by choice, but by force, extracted from you through every camera you've ever faced. Your phone, your laptop, the camera at the ATM, even the cameras in your dreams. Every time you see yourself on screen, you feed it. What happens on day 7? Tonight's my 7th night. At 3:13 a.m., my camera will go live again. But this time, it won't show me. It will show you watching me through your own screen as I whisper your secrets back to you. Because the whisper doesn't just want confessions. It wants witnesses. If you're reading this, you're already filming. Your front camera is on right now, even if you can't see it. Your screen reflection is already a recording. And somewhere, deep in your phone's memory, there's already a file called The Whispering Tapes, Episode 6. Your name, it's been recording since you started reading. The 7-day rule. Now that you've seen this, you have 7 days. Day 1, your camera activates by itself. Day 2, your reflection lags in every screen. Day 3, you receive a video of yourself you never recorded. Day 4, your devices live stream while you sleep. Day 5, your reflection starts whispering on its own. Day 6, the camera demands a confession. Day 7, your reflection steps out and you become the next tape. The only way out, the only way to break the cycle is to pass it on, show someone else the story, the video, the confession. If you don't, the whisper takes your place, wearing your face in every screen while you rot inside the static forever. Final warning, check your front camera right now. Do you see yourself smiling before you do? Do you see the lens behind your eyes? If you do, you're already part of the next confession. You're already the next tape. Don't sleep with your phone beside you. Don't watch your own reflection too long. And for God's sake, don't go live at 3:13 a.m. Because if you do, it won't be you watching yourself. It will be me. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 7, The Door That Knocked Itself. The first knock came at 3:13 a.m. 3 soft raps. Then silence. I live alone. Day 1, the invitation. I didn't open the door. I was too scared to move. But my phone buzzed right after. A new video saved to my camera roll. No sender. No notification. Just a file called The Whispering Tapes, Episode 7. Answer the door. In the video, I saw my own front door, filmed from inside my apartment, but I wasn't the one holding the camera. The knocking repeated, louder this time. And from the other side of the door, my own voice whispered, "Let me in." Day 2, the locked door opens. The next night, I pushed my dresser against the door before bed. Locked both the deadbolt and the chain. Didn't matter. At 3:13 a.m., my phone vibrated on the nightstand. Another video. This time, the door was already open. The hallway outside was pitch black, but something stood just out of frame, breathing too loud, too wet, like lungs filled with mud. My reflection stood in the doorway, grinning too wide, but my real body was still in bed, watching. Day 3, the door follows me. I left the apartment that morning, checked into a hotel across town. New room, new door. But at exactly 3:13 a.m., my hotel room door knocked itself. 3 raps. My phone recorded the whole thing, even though I had left it powered off. On the screen, the door opened by itself. The hallway outside wasn't the hotel corridor anymore. It was the hallway from my childhood home, and standing there was me, age 7, wearing pajamas I hadn't seen in decades, whispering to the camera, "Let me back in." What the door really is, the whisper doesn't need a house. It doesn't need a mirror anymore. Now it travels through thresholds. Any door you've ever walked through, any room you've ever left, any place you once called home. It remembers every door you've ever closed behind you. And now it wants you to open them all again. Day 4, knock, knock, knock. I moved hotels. It didn't help. At 3:13 a.m., 3 knocks. Always 3, like a question waiting for an answer. But when I peeked through the peephole, there was never anyone there. Just the dark hallway breathing, like the whole building was alive. The first door you forgot. The whispering tapes aren't just stories. They're keys to every locked door inside your memory. Every place your mind has sealed shut because remembering hurts too much. A door you closed on a friend you betrayed. A door you shut when you moved away without saying goodbye. A door you locked when you promised yourself you'd never go back. The whisper knows them all. And now, every night at 3:13 a.m., it knocks on those doors, waiting for you to open. Day 5, the knock came from inside. I left the hotel, slept in my car. Didn't matter. At 3:13 a.m., 3 knocks on my car window, but there was nobody outside. Because the knocking came from inside the glass, from the reflection in the rearview mirror. And my reflection whispered, "You have to let me in." The door is a ritual. Doors aren't just wood and locks. They're promises to keep things out, to keep things in, to separate the past from the present. The whisper turns every door into a confession booth. The knocking is the question. The opening is your answer. And if you open at 3:13 a.m., you're not just opening a door. You're opening yourself. Day 6. The door inside me. I dreamed I was standing in front of a door I didn't recognize. Heavy, old, carved with the same symbols from the mirror in room 206. Something was knocking from the other side. I opened it. And inside was every version of me I've ever been. Every mistake, every sin, every lie I ever told myself, all standing shoulder to shoulder, whispering in unison, "Let us back in." I woke up with scratches down my arms, like fingernails clawing to get out. What happens on day 7 tonight is my 7th night. At 3:13 a.m., the knocking won't come from the door anymore. It will come from inside me, from every closed-off part of my soul, every buried memory, every secret I thought was safe. And if I don't open up, if I don't confess, the whisper will open me from the inside out. If you're reading this, your door has already knocked, because the story isn't just a warning. It's the knock itself. You might not hear it yet. But at exactly 3:13 a.m., your door, any door, will knock 3 times. Maybe it's your bedroom door, maybe your closet, maybe the front door of a house you left years ago. But the whisper already knows where to find you, because now you've opened the first door just by reading this. The 7-day rule, now that you have exactly 7 days to pass it on. Day 1, a door knocks by itself. Day 2, the door opens by itself. Day 3, the door leads somewhere it shouldn't. Day 4, you see yourself standing behind the door. Day 5, the knocking comes from inside your reflection. Day 6, the door appears in your dreams. Day 7, you either open the door or become the next knock. The only way out, the only way to survive, is to make someone else answer first. Share the story, show them the video, let them hear the knock before you do. If you don't, you'll become the one behind the door, waiting forever, knocking for the next soul foolish enough to listen. Final warning: cover your doors. Push something heavy in front of them. And most importantly, whatever you do not open the door at 3:13 a.m. Because it's not the door you're opening. It's yourself. And once the whisper steps inside, it never leaves. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 8. The handprint on the ceiling. The first time I saw it, I thought it was a stain. Just a faint smudge near the corner of the ceiling, right above my bed. The kind you only notice when you can't sleep, lying flat on your back, staring at nothing. But the longer I stared, the clearer it became. It wasn't a stain. It was a handprint, and it was facing the wrong way. Fingers pointing down, like someone had pressed their hand against the ceiling from above. Day 1, the first mark. I stood on my bed, reached up, wiped the spot with my sleeve. The dust smeared, but the handprint stayed, skin oil sinking into the plaster like it had been there for years. My fingers didn't match the size. It was my hand, but longer, thinner, distorted like a reflection stretched across broken glass. That night, I dreamed of my own hand, detached, crawling across the ceiling like a spider, leaving smudges wherever it touched. When I woke, there were 5 new prints. Day 2, it followed me. I slept on the couch the next night. Didn't matter. At 3:13 a.m., my phone buzzed with a new file. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 8. Look up. The video showed my living room ceiling. Another handprint. Fresh. The camera was filming from above, looking down at me even though I never set up a camera there. And halfway through the video, the ceiling breathed, expanding and contracting, like lungs beneath the plaster. The handprint pressed deeper. What the ceiling remembers. Ceilings see everything. Every fight, every secret, every time you cried yourself to sleep beneath them. And the whisper figured out how to leave pieces of you behind, pressed into the ceiling like fossils waiting to wake up. The handprint wasn't just a mark. It was a memory, preserved in oil and skin. And now it wanted a body to come back to. Day 3, the shadow above me. I woke to the sound of something tapping. Not the door this time, not the window. It was the ceiling itself, cracking softly, flakes of paint drifting down like dead skin. And when I rolled onto my back, I saw it. My own reflection, crawling across the ceiling, upside down, smiling, leaving handprints wherever it moved. The ceiling isn't just a ceiling, it's a skin stretched tight across everything you've ever tried to bury. The whisper figured out how to wear it, how to climb into it, how to watch you through it. Every ceiling you've ever slept under, every room where you felt safe, they're all connected by that thin layer of plaster and secrets. Day 4, confession from above. At 3:13 a.m., the ceiling whispered. Not loud, not words. Just the sound of my own breathing played back a second too late, like the ceiling itself was inhaling everything I ever said in that room. Then came the voice, my voice, from directly above me. I know what you did. I didn't move. The ceiling smiled. The ceiling holds your sins every time you lie awake at night, replaying every mistake you ever made. The ceiling collects them. The whisper taught it how to remember, how to press them into the paint like fingerprints. And on the 7th night, the ceiling opens, and everything you buried comes crawling back down. Day 5, the falling reflection. I stopped sleeping in my apartment, checked into another hotel. At 3:13 a.m., the hotel ceiling cracked open, drywall splitting like a rotten wound. A hand, my hand, slid through the crack, fingers twitching. Then a second hand. Then a face, my face, peeled down from the ceiling like skin melting off bone. The reflection whispered through teeth I no longer owned. Confess, or come up here with me. What it wants, the whisper, isn't satisfied with mirrors anymore. It wants every surface to remember you, every wall, every floor, every ceiling. It wants you to live inside the house you built from your own fear. Every secret you swallowed down instead of speaking aloud. It went up, into the ceiling, and now it's falling back down. Day 6. The ceiling breathes with me every room I enter. The ceiling sags just a little. Every ceiling follows me now, familiar stains appearing no matter where I go. Because the whisper knows, the only way to trap me is from above. The ceilings remember every time I prayed to no one. Every time I screamed into my pillow. Every time I pretended I was fine. The ceiling remembers everything. And tonight, it's coming down. Day 7, the final fall tonight at 3:13 a.m., the ceiling will open completely. My reflection will fall through, wearing every fear I've ever had. If I refuse to confess, it will take my place and I'll be dragged upward into the space between ceiling and roof, into the thin, airless gap where forgotten things crawl and whisper forever. If you're reading this, your ceiling already knows your name. This isn't just a story. It's a map leading the whisper directly to the ceiling above your bed. Look up. See the stains you never noticed before? See the handprint that wasn't there yesterday? That's your hand. That's your voice in the cracks. That's your reflection waiting to fall. The 7-day rule. Day 1, you see the first handprint. Day 2, your ceiling records you while you sleep. Day 3, your reflection moves inside the ceiling. Day 4, the ceiling breathes with your breath. Day 5, your reflection tries to crawl through. Day 6, the ceiling whispers all your secrets. Day 7, you either confess or switch places with the reflection forever. Pass it on or look up. If you share this story, the ceiling follows someone else. If you keep it secret, the ceiling belongs to you. Either way, at 3:13 a.m., you'll hear the first crack. The paint will flake down like dead skin, and your hand, will reach for you from above. Final warning, don't sleep on your back tonight. Don't stare at the ceiling too long. And whatever you do, don't close your eyes if the ceiling starts to smile. Because when it smiles, it's already too late. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 9. The voice in the walls shouldn't remember, but mine do. They remember every word I've ever whispered into the dark. And now they whisper them back. Day 1. It begins with a crack. It started with a hairline crack, splitting the paint beside my bed. I thought it was nothing. Old building, cheap plaster. But when I leaned in, ear pressed to the wall, I heard breathing. My breathing, perfectly in sync. Except the breath on the other side came half a second too late, like an echo following me into sleep. Day 2. The first voice. I woke to a soft voice inside the wall. Not from the vents, not from next door. From the wall itself. Like the drywall had soaked up my voice and was finally ready to spit it back out. It whispered my name. Then it whispered something I'd only ever said once. When I was 16, crying into my pillow, convinced no one could hear. I wish I wasn't here. I never said it out loud again. But the wall remembered. What walls are made of, they say. Old buildings remember things. But it's not ghosts they hold on to. The sound. Every word ever spoken inside a room leaves a trace. A vibration pressed into wood, brick, plaster. Most houses forget, but some walls learn how to remember. And the whisper teaches walls how to speak back. Day 3. The recordings I never made. At exactly 3:13 a.m., my phone lit up with a new file. Another tape. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 9. Echoes in the walls. It was an audio recording. Not from my phone mic, from inside the walls. My own voice, speaking secrets I never said aloud. Confessions I only thought silently to myself. The walls didn't just remember what I said. They remembered what I almost said. Day 4. The walls rewrite themselves the next morning. Cracks ran across every wall. Not random, not natural. They formed words. My handwriting. My thoughts. Scratched into the paint like fingernails dragging through wet plaster. I lied. I stole. I'm afraid of dying alone. Every sentence I ever swallowed down instead of confessing, written there. My house knew me better than I knew myself. Walls are not solid. We like to believe walls separate us from the world, that they keep us safe. But walls are porous. They listen, they remember, and if something teaches them how, they can speak, they can lie, they can confess. Day 5. The mouth in the wall. At 3:13 a.m., the crack beside my bed opened wider. Inside, not brick or wood, but a mouth. My mouth. Skin stretched thin across bone, teeth too white, lips too dry. It whispered my secrets back to me. Every ugly thought I ever buried, until I couldn't tell where the wall ended and I began. And when I stepped back, the mouth smiled, because I was the one who taught the wall how to speak. What walls don't want to hurt you. They want to be you. Every time you lean against them, every time you scream into them, Every time you think you're alone inside them, they absorb you. And when they've learned enough, they trade places. Day 6, the house confesses for me that night. Every device in my house turned on at once. My TV, my laptop, my phone, all playing the same video, a live feed from inside the walls. The camera panned across bones and wires, past rats and rotting wood, until it found a second me curled up inside the plaster, mouth moving in sync with mine. It was my reflection hiding inside the wall, confessing everything I refused to say. And the house broadcasted it to the world. Your house knows everything. The whisper doesn't need mirrors anymore. It doesn't need screens. It just needs a room you've lived in long enough to leave an imprint. If you ever cried alone in your bedroom, if you ever practiced saying, "I'm fine," into the air until you believed it, if you ever whispered a secret when you thought no one could hear, the walls remember, and now they want to talk. Day 7, the final confession tonight at 3:13 a.m. The walls will open completely. Every word I ever swallowed down will pour out, louder than I can scream. If I don't confess first, the house will confess for me, louder, uglier, more twisted than the truth ever was. Because walls don't repeat secrets exactly. They distort them, they exaggerate, they lie. And once the house speaks, I'll be sealed inside. If you're reading this, your walls already heard you. This isn't a story. It's a confession you forgot you made. Because while you've been reading, your walls have been listening. They know every word you're thinking right now. And tonight at 3:13 a.m., they'll whisper it back. The 7-day rule. Day 1, the first crack appears. Day 2, the wall repeats something you said years ago. Day 3, your phone records audio from inside the walls. Day 4, your secrets appear, scratched into the paint. Day 5, a mouth opens in the wall. Day 6, your house confesses your sins to the world. Day 7, you either confess yourself, or the walls take your voice forever. Pass it on, or let your house speak. If you show this to someone else, your walls fall silent. If you keep it secret, they grow louder, until your house is nothing but a shell made of echoes and regret, screaming your name long after you're gone. Final warning: listen to your walls tonight. If they whisper your name, it's already too late. Because once the whisper teaches them how to speak, they never forget. And neither will you. The Whispering Tapes, Episode 10, The Last Confession. You're not supposed to be here, but you made it anyway, all the way to the end. You watched every tape. You read every word. You opened every door. Now, the only thing left is your confession. Day 1, the room with no walls. The night after I found the final tape, my apartment disappeared. The walls, the ceiling, even the floor, all of it peeled away like old skin rotting off bone. What was left was a room made entirely of reflection, glass on every surface, stretching so far it broke the laws of space. And in every reflection, I saw every version of me from the first 9 tapes, the one from room 206, the one stuck in the static, the one behind the door, the one crawling on the ceiling, the one whispering inside the walls. All of them waiting, smiling, whispering in sync, confess. Day 2, the mirror inside my skull. It's not just the room. It's me. Every thought I've ever swallowed, every scream I locked behind my teeth, every ugly little prayer I whispered when I thought God wasn't listening, it's all inside me now. And every time I blink, the back of my eyelids reflect my own face, whispering back every secret I tried to forget. My body isn't a body anymore. It's a container for confessions. And it's almost full. Day 3, the whisper knows I'm watching at 3:13 a.m. My phone went live again. But this time I wasn't the one watching. The whisper was through my own eyes. Every camera, every mirror, every screen, all of it turned inward, recording not my house, but my mind itself, playing back my thoughts like corrupted footage. I hate who I've become. I want to disappear. I deserve this. Every thought you pretend you've never had, the whisper has them all. Day 4, every confession I ever ignored. My walls don't whisper anymore. My reflection doesn't smile first. Because I've become the whisper itself. A living recording, replaying my own sins so loud they drown out my heartbeat. There's no silence left inside me, only playback. Day 5, the house becomes the tape. The Whispering Tapes were never just videos. They were blueprints, ways to reshape reality into a living confession booth. Every house, every screen, every surface that ever held a reflection. They're all part of the same tape now. And I'm the one playing on repeat. Day 6. What the whisper really is. Here's the part you never understood. The whisper isn't a ghost. It's not a curse. It's a ritual. Every time someone confesses, the ritual gets stronger. Every time someone watches, the ritual spreads. Every time someone tries to warn the next person, the ritual evolves. The whisper doesn't want your soul. It wants your story, because stories live forever. And so does it. Day 7. The last confession at 3:13 a.m. The final screen lights up. Not my phone. Not my TV. Yours. Because now you're the one reading this. You made it all the way here. And that means the only confession left to record is yours. The room you're in right now, look around. Every wall, every screen, every reflection. They've all been recording you since you started reading this. Your breathing, your thoughts, the flicker of fear in your eyes when you realize this isn't just a story. It's a summoning. The whisper needs one thing to complete itself. It needs a witness who understands. Not just someone who watched the tapes. Someone who became the tape, who carried the confession forward without even meaning to. That's you. What happens next at 3:13 a.m.? The whisper will knock. Not on your door. Not on your walls. It will knock inside your head, 3 soft taps against the back of your skull, like knuckles tapping on bone. That's the moment you have to choose. Confess or become the next tape. If you confess, say it out loud. Tell the thing behind the screen the one truth you've never told anyone. The uglier, the better. The whisper feeds on pain, and pain keeps it full. If your confession is honest enough, the whisper moves on to the next person who reads this after you share it. If you stay silent, the whisper steps through your screen. It wears your face. It rewrites every memory anyone has of you. Your friends will still remember you, but only the version the whisper chooses to show them. You will become the next tape, a story someone else reads, thinking it's just fiction until their screen knocks too. The final 7-day rule. Day 1. Your screens start showing reflections that aren't yours. Day 2. Your walls whisper your secrets back to you. Day 3. Your phone records videos you never made. Day 4. Your reflection steps out. Day 5. Your ceiling smiles. Day 6. Your house confesses for you. Day 7. You either confess or you become the next whispering tape. This is the last tape. There's nowhere left for the story to go, unless you pass it on. So here's your choice. Close this now, pretend it was just another scary story, and wait for 3:13 a.m. or confess out loud right now. Say it and share this. Or keep it to yourself and let the whisper write your ending for you. Final warning, check your screen's reflection right now. If your face smiles before you do, the confession has already started. And once it starts, the whisper doesn't stop, because the last confession never ends.